One aspect of Star Wars that recent Disney Star Wars canon has been expanding upon is the life and struggles of Master Yoda. And during his exile following Episode 3, and just before we meet him in The Empire Strikes Back, fans have had many unanswered questions for years. The first From a Certain Point of View book in 2018 revealed the conversation that Yoda had with Master Obi-Wan Kenobi's Force Ghost just after Old Ben's death in A New Hope. They discussed why it was time that young Luke, the son of Anakin Skywalker now turned Darth Vader, needed to be trained. The so-called New Hope, the catalyst for the Jedi to return and for freedom to be restored to the galaxy. At the end of that conversation, the book says this: "But Obi-Wan was already gone. Yoda nestled deeply into Qui-Gon Jinn's cloak. Now he would sleep. At least he would try to. His eyes opened. He probably would not sleep. It's not what he had wished for. Not at all. Still, for the first time in a long time, he was eager for the next day." But now, a recent comic has given us an expanded understanding of Yoda's psyche when Obi-Wan died, and his exact reaction to his old friend's sacrifice on the Death Star. But let's take a step back for just a moment. Nearly 2 decades prior, Yoda escaped his battle with Darth Sidious. However, he saw the loss of so many Jedi Knights and Masters, younglings and Padawans during Order 66 all those years ago. The recent comic series has depicted his grief and guilt about the rising Empire, so many nightmares, where he was haunted by Anakin, Qui-Gon Jinn, Count Dooku, even Yaddle. In his solitude on Dagobah, he meditated and reflected on events that have passed. With Yoda on Dagobah and Obi-Wan on Tatooine, the two could still feel each other in the Force. So 19 years after Revenge of the Sith, a massive question original trilogy fans have had is when was the moment Yoda found out about Ben's death. He definitely knows by the time of The Empire Strikes Back, because Obi-Wan's Force Ghost interacts with Yoda and Luke. But when was the very moment, and how did he find out? Well, Star Wars has finally explained it after all these years. Yoda had been hearing Obi-Wan's voice, but he chose to ignore it. It was too painful for Yoda to admit Obi-Wan Kenobi had died. As one of the few survivors of the Jedi Order of old, Yoda couldn't fathom losing his old friend. One night, Yoda was in his hut on Dagobah, and he heard a voice.
"You have to talk to me, old friend."
Yoda responds, "Doing that, am I not?" "You're playing games. Avoiding me," said Obi-Wan. "You know what happened. You must have felt it." Yoda sighs. "Felt it, I did. Through the Force. Your death, I saw," Yoda responds, and he relives the battle on the Death Star between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Yoda relaxes, allows himself to feel Obi-Wan's presence. "Obi-Wan," he whispers. A blue Force spirit manifests. It looks far more like Ewan McGregor's depiction than Alec Guinness, like the last time Yoda remembered him. Obi-Wan looks at him and says, "Then why have you been pretending otherwise?" "Pretending? I have not. Avoiding you? I have been. But why, Master Yoda?" "Told you I did. What we face is too big for me to defeat." Obi-Wan is confused. The oldest, most wise Jedi in the Order. Saying a threat is too big, Ben responds hesitantly, "I don't believe that. What's more, I don't believe that you believe that." Yoda sighs, closing his eyes. "You don't understand. I fail to see through Palpatine's machinations, his corruption of the Senate, and of young Skywalker."
"Only through me can you achieve a power greater than any Jedi."
Yoda remembers his final duel in Revenge of the Sith against Darth Sidious. "And I failed to stop him when the moment called for it." Yoda remembers all of the conversations he had with young Anakin. Yoda's advice to not mourn those who've passed on in the Force, the shadow that has fallen across the galaxy. "My fault, it is. I have exiled myself here, not just for penance. I've removed myself from events, because without me, better off the galaxy is." Yoda's bitter solitude on Dagobah was taxing, a doleful and wretched gloom. Mourning what was lost, misery beyond anything he'd ever known. It's kind of a sad story, but that is how he learned Obi-Wan died. He felt it in the Force. and in a way, it aged him. But in this moment of the comic, he communes with Obi-Wan's Force ghost, answers him for the first time. In the book, from a certain point of view, the conversation between the two is expanded. Here's how it goes. Yoda looks at his old friend. "I am old, Master Kenobi." Obi-Wan replies, 900 is old. "Not so worn out as you might think, Master." He scratches his head. Yoda goes over to the empty shelf. Obi-Wan states, "I want you to train young Skywalker." Yoda felt his heart thrill. He did not imagine it could have happened, but here it was. Yes. Obi-Wan was confused. "You agree so quickly?" "Long have I waited to train her," Yoda responds. "Master, I'm not talking about the girl. I want you to train Luke." Yoda looked at the shimmering face. "No," he said. He stamped his cane on the floor. "That is not the one. Not ready, is he?" Obi-Wan smirked. "Who is ever ready, Master?" "Not that one. A Jedi must have the deepest commitment. That one looks from one cloud to another. A Jedi must have the most serious mind. That one cannot keep his mind from his speeder. Not him. Her, the girl, must be trained." This is a very similar observation to what Yoda says to Luke later in the timeline in The Last Jedi. Skywalker, still looking to the horizon, never here, now. The need in front of your nose. Obi-Wan was saddened by Yoda's words. "Master." Yoda interrupts. "The boy will not finish what he begins. He is reckless." "The path a reckless one must set his foot." Obi-Wan's spirit sighed and sat down next to the old Jedi Master. Yoda again speaks of Leia. She is ready. Obi-Wan shook his head again. "Demanding now, you are, Master Kenobi." "Forgive me, Master," Obi-Wan says. And this is the point in the book where they try to connect it to The Empire Strikes Back. Obi-Wan says, "I seem to remember an old master of mine who liked to say the same thing about trying." "Send him to me," Yoda whispered in a quiet voice. And this is where the story picks up in The Empire Strikes Back, when Luke is on Hoth, and the spirit of Ben Kenobi, his old friend, comes to him and tells him he must go to the Dagobah system. There he'll learn from Yoda, the Jedi Master who instructed him. I really do love what these comics have added to Yoda's story. Share your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you, always.